News, from passive to active, how are we combining awareness and activism with news? So it is my pleasure to introduce my boss and founder and CEO of Mashable, Pete Cashmore. Thank you. Ian Somerhalder, who is an actor, entrepreneur, and advisor to Ryot. David Darg, who is a co-founder of Ryot. And Bryn Musser, who is also a co-founder of Ryot.
Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Obviously, people are pretty excited about this panel.
I'm excited.
So maybe you can kick off and tell us a little bit about Ryot and how news is becoming participatory.
Sure. David and I started Ryot about a year ago. We launched, and it really comes from spending the last 10 years, each of us in the field doing development work in humanitarian programs and seeing what was working and seeing what wasn't working, and really wanting to change the way that young people were getting engaged with what was happening in the world, and also how they could participate in that. And maybe David, you could take it from.
Yeah, during our time as aid workers, we had kind of a dual role. We'd go in doing relief projects, but we were also responsible for filmmaking and getting the story from the field back to people that had the power to do something about it. And we really saw a disconnect in trying to get people interested in the work we were doing. Because of apathy, who knows why. I mean, it's tough to get people to get interested about wells in Ghana on any particular day. So we wanted to flip the model on its head. And we said, well, what are people interested in? And first and foremost, we realized it's news. And if we can somehow harness news and what people are interested in today, and then backflow and link that through to an action, then we're on to a winner. So that's where the idea for Ryot came from.
So news is really the way to keep people engaged. It's about this whole trend of, content is how you market things now if you want to get a message out. What kind of content are you guys creating?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. David just returned from the Syrian refugee camps and was shooting video for us down there and doing relief work at the same time. We have a reporter who's in Goma right now covering the conflict there. A lot of it is citizen journalism. We rely on people all over the world to send us in videos, Instagram pictures, and then in addition we have our own reporters who are working. And we also rely heavily on the Associated Press and Reuters, I think, to get more of the traditional news story and seeing what's out there.
Yeah, we syndicate a lot of news. The key for us is that Ryot is just as breaking and current and updated as any other news site out there. The New York Times, that our news is happening in real time and that you can go on there and find out. I think our lead story today is about the terror attacks in Nairobi. But the key is with us, the other news networks might be reporting about it, but we really see that as kind of an old school model. It's a one-way flow of information. This is what's happening in Nairobi. It's terrible. You come away feeling, angry, helpless. We're trying to capitalize on that emotion that you get when you read a news story. And so on our site, there's an action. We link you through to the Kenyan Red Cross that's actually caring for the victims, and you can donate to the relief fund for the victims. And that's happening in real time with the news as it breaks.
Great. Ian, how did you get involved with this?
I've known these men, and Bryn and I have had some really incredible times together. And Bryn came to me and he says, listen, we have this idea that ultimately we want to be able to take the news and make it in a participant manner, be able to have people become the news. Ultimately, it can't just be, you read an article, it's a dead end. Ryot allows it to no longer be a dead end. There's actually a call to this action, and my mind was blown. And I said, yes, this is something we have to do. This is going to completely flip the news model on its head, and it's going to be powerful. And now what you're doing is ultimately, I don't have the only expertise I think I may have is in youth of the world, which is ultimately the most underutilized, undervalued portion of our world, are the young people. And what I've learned is by virtue of empowering them, you have the ability to shift paradigms, into the future till the cows come home.
What is it about this generation that they want to be engaged? It used to be enough to just read a newspaper and be done with it.
Well, it's an impressive generation.
What's changed?
It's an impressive generation. They don't just talk the talk. They walk the walk. They step up. They're engaged. They want to participate. They are involved. We hear this word a lot that's kind of thrown around called slacktivism. And we hear that a bit with us and young journalists trying to make things happen. But we can show you, I can show you quantifiable change that is actually activism. It's not slacktivism. So when you hear that word, we just love to shoot it down. I mean, I can show you.
Well, how does that, because, I mean, we've been doing the Social Good Summit for, I guess, the 5th one, and the original criticism was, well, I'm sure we can get people to talk online, but how do we get them to actually take action, to donate, to... Are you seeing a change then? Is there a sea change towards people taking action online now?
I think that, you know, one of the things, and as Ian talks about, I mean, Ian's lucky to have all these incredible fans all over the world who are real, you know, really want to do good in the world. You know, they're really looking for a way to help out. And at Ryot, we're really trying to make that as clear as possible. Here's what you can do. And, you know, from spending the last decade in the field, you know, there are things that people can do all over the world, and there are things that people can do in their communities right now. They don't take a lot of money, and they can really affect change. And so we try to show both what your impact can be globally and also how you can help out in your own community. And that can just be, you know, sometimes as simple as sending a tweet of support or signing a petition, or, you know, we love getting kids involved civically, so writing your representatives is still something that we really encourage.
It's encouraging also, too, that it's the old adage of, you know, to think globally, you have to act locally. If you can empower a young person or anyone to realize they can do something locally that's actually going to impact our sort of global nature, it's really, really empowering. And it creates doers. This is not just talking. This is not rhetoric. This is doing. And then it becomes relentless doing. And that relentless doing ultimately, you know, yields quantifiable progress.
And Pete, just to add to that, you know, with Ian, he's got all of these followers who are, you know, watching his Twitter account, and so we really wanted to make sure that each piece of content that he was tweeting out was more meaningful than just tweeting an article about an environmental issue that he was passionate about, because he has his own foundation, the Ian Somerhalder Foundation, that's doing great work. So, you know, as David and I were building it, we spent a lot of time talking with Ian about how do we make sure that each piece of content that you're pushing out there has a, you know, totally embedded action back to the work you're doing philanthropically, so that it doesn't just become that dead end, it becomes more meaningful.
Have you guys got any specific examples? What's taken off really well?
Yeah, just this week, you know, actually the last 4 weeks, we've been running a challenge called the Start a Ryot Challenge, where we're just asking people to get behind a bunch of nonprofits. We offer some incentives. They can win tickets to the Global Citizen Concert next weekend. We've seen a great response. I think we've raised almost $700,000 in just 4 weeks. And probably by next week it'll be $1 million. So it's exciting. And it's for great causes all over the world. So we love it.
Nonprofits all over the world. I mean, that's a substantial amount of cash to do.
You know, for us, we're working with CrowdRise, who we love. We're working with Change.org, Volunteer Match. And that's been a really exciting part, because I think up until now there's been a lot of places where you can go and you can make a difference, you can do a change. But with Ryot, we really are hoping that our stories, what's happening in the world, becomes that forward face that then causes people to do an action.
And which organizations are you guys working with?
Oh gosh, a lot.
Yeah, there's hundreds on the site. And, you know, coming from that field.
Each individual article, whatever that particular issue is, you know, these guys, we find the best, you know, organizations that are working within the confines of that particular area.
The action has to be really relevant to the story, to the content. And Bryn and I are fortunate to have come from that field, so we have a lot of friends working all over the world. We know the organizations very well, so we're able to curate actions very well.
20 years of experience between the two of them in the field.
But I also think for us it's really exciting to step out of the nonprofit space where there can be this competition and politics, and to start something that we really think is very inclusive. You know, we want to include every nonprofit that we discover that's doing great work as one of the actions for young people to get involved with.
Do you think this is the next evolution of commenting then? Is that something we're going to see elsewhere, or is it very specific to your site where people want to take an action rather than just share something or comment on it?
I don't know why we haven't seen it before, why every news site doesn't have an action that's already embedded.
Well, I think there's a reason for that. You know, the rules of journalism, the age-old rules of journalism, you have to be objective, have created this environment that I think is best explained by comparing it to a wildlife documentary, where the crew's there filming a lion attacking a gazelle, and you're like, well, why didn't you intervene and save the gazelle? You know, and it's like, whoa, we can't interfere with nature. Don't interfere with nature. And so news has had that, you know, take a step back approach. But we're passionate to feel that and say that you shouldn't be able to report about the crisis in Syria and not report what you can do about it, the solutions.
So do you think this objective nature of news is going on? I mean, there's been a huge debate in the news sphere, and we've been part of it over the past 5 years or so, where you know, some people have accused news organizations of essentially giving the illusion of objectivity anyway, because, you know, everyone's a person, everyone has an opinion, reporters have opinions on what they're reporting on, and they essentially have to put their opinions aside. Do you think that that's going to continue? Do you think that people will write more opinionated journalism? Where do you think that'll go?
I mean, for me at least, when you see the trend of where people are getting news and information, whether it's Mashable or BuzzFeed or Vice or Ryot, I don't think those rules are set in stone as much as they were perhaps for, you know, when you watch CNN or Fox News. But, you know, when you watch the commercials that they play during CNN and Fox, it's all for adult diapers and canes and stuff. I mean, this is a generational thing that's happening. And vitamins. So I think that there is this sea change that's happening, and it's exciting for us, at least. You're able to do that.
And do you think there's going to be a pushback, though, from the journalism world in terms of what you're doing? Is it going to be seen as kind of illegitimate news, or?
Yeah, but the old guard will always object. But, you know, we're young, we're disruptive, and we're gonna move on, and I think the whole system is going to change eventually.
Well, we hope they'll embrace us because we want to be liked by everybody.
Yeah, we'd like to.
We're young and disruptive.
You're doing controversial things like helping people around the world.
Exactly. Sorry.
Yeah. So, Ian, so you're a big part of getting people to hear about Ryot. What kind of social media sites are you using these days? What's big? What's getting the biggest response?
Honestly, Twitter. Twitter is the one that I use the most, and I'll say, you know, using this platform has been just an incredible experience. But the thing is that if I find an article, and again, it goes back to objectivity and subjectivity, but if I find an article, something that resonates with me, something I think is important, something I think is socially needs to happen, because let's make no mistake about it, we are facing some serious climate issues, social issues. If I want to spread this word, I can send a link to a news site, and I can send this to fans, and these guys and girls are activated, they want to read about it, but it's a dead-end street. Now there's a call to action, and I think the response has been phenomenal, and it makes me feel so much better to know that I can relay this information and that something comes of it. No longer is it just you reading an article and that's it, you put it to bed. And this is just, you see, there is a sea change happening. Now all of a sudden these embedded, you know, now they're retweeting this, they're talking to their parents about it, it's in schools. So Twitter, you know, social media changed the world. And we are all here witnessing it, and we're all part of it, and it's a really phenomenal thing.
Do you think there's a responsibility, in a sense, for people who are very visible in the public eye and have these big followings to start using them for more?
Subjectivity and objectivity, yeah. I mean, I think any of us would probably argue to say yes to that answer. I think if you do have a substantial amount, if you do have a voice, or let me rephrase it, if you have a microphone that is plugged into an amplifier, I think it's wrong of you not to sing. You know what I mean?
It's good.
Well, I mean,
You just come up
Just stop it there.
should I do a mic drop? But you know, so I do, and I really hope, and I encourage anyone who has, you know, this all has to be in a collaborative spirit, and I truly encourage anyone who, whether you have 5 followers or 5 million followers, to use that platform and to use that microphone and to use that amplifier to amplify the voices around you who have super great ideas, typically much better ideas than you have, and to spread that information, because again, we can, you know, we need to be able to use it for progress, but again, show the quantifiable change. That's the idea, using social media to create quantifiable change globally.
And David and Bryn, you know, we do have a participatory crowd. Is there anything they can do on Ryot right now? What kind of things have you got running? How can you get engaged?
Sure, I mean, we ask everybody, of course, to follow @Ryot News. That's the most important. And you know, one of the things that we might add too is that we feature a nonprofit every week. So part of our advertising revenue that we have goes on to this cause of the week. In this case, it's Mercy Corps. So really, just by getting your news from Ryot, you're making an impact in the world. So there's a bit of this one-for-one model.
Yeah, literally. Actually, can I just say something about that?
Sure.
Real quickly? I get this a lot, particularly from young people who say, "Hey, listen, I'm young, or I don't have any money, or I'm 40 and I lost my job. I can't afford to do anything," and it makes people feel awful. The incredible thing about this platform, I'm just sounding like like Harry the Tupperware salesman right now. I apologize. I'm just so in love with this thing. But you know, the idea is that what Bryn just said, even if you cannot, in a monetary sense, donate money, just by simply trafficking, that builds ad dollars, which allows Ryot to do exactly what it needs to do. So just literally, what a cool concept. Just by literally going on the site, you're making a change. So anyway,
but no, keep going. I mean, so following Ryot News, spreading the word, saying, you know, get your news from Ryot. You can, if you're watching what happened in Nairobi, you can give money directly right now to the relief effort there and to helping those people. We have this CrowdRise campaign that ends on Thursday. And then, David, do you want to walk through what we're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I would challenge people to compare us to other news sites because we really want to demonstrate that we are breaking news, just like you would find at Huffington Post, New York Times. We are competing with you guys. And so this is a typical story page. A typical story page, you know, you read the article and at the end we curate with a Ryot note. We explain, we link the content of the article through to the action to provide that link for you. And so every single story, it's not just, and we're trying not to be earnest. This isn't just good stories, good news from around the world. It's every single breaking news story. And then funny stuff too. We want cat videos that we can link through to Best Friend Animal Society, you know, rescue cats.
We had a 10-minute conversation about cats before we came on.
52 million mentions at South by Southwest Interactive. Yeah. This cat.
So you're using cats to get people engaged in charity work.
Yeah. We were going to bring Grumpy Cat out here with the Ryot shirt, just hoping that it would work.
Yeah, we couldn't get Grumpy. Ian we could get. Grumpy's a bit high level for us.
I can take it. I can take it. I'm an actor. I have thick skin.
Yeah, we're using cats because, again, it's about what people are interested in today. If it's a viral video, if it's viral and everyone's talking about it, we want that on the site because we'll relay that back to an action that you can take. Yeah. And we love the theme of this the Social Good Summit this year. You know, 2030 now, we really feel that Ryot's kind of pioneering this new model that we hope that all news turns to, where it's not okay to write about Syria and not provide an action. And you know,
that's a bold statement, by the way. Again, it's the same question you just asked. Do I feel that it's, you know, that people who have that voice or have that microphone have a responsibility to act on it? I truly believe, as a journalist, you have a responsibility to provide an action for your reader. You know what I mean? And I think that's the new paradigm.
Is it okay to use something very accessible as the hook, right? Because it sounds like the storyline is, you know, you take something that's shiny, you know, cats. I saw you had a story like a Miley Cyrus story up, but then you try and get them into something that's more meaningful. Is that the new model, is to take something that's very shiny and accessible?
I mean,
I would love to see you try and link those things.
I will.
You know, I think for us what we want is to be, you know, a place where young people, where millennials can get their news and see everything that's going on in the world. It's really important for us to link to actions when there is a great action and when there are things that people can do. But, you know, we have fun with what the actions are if it's a, you know, if it's a Miley Cyrus or a cat video story. But it's still, you know, we're linking to a local...
Millennials don't want to just read news anymore. They want to know what they can do about it.
And they want to share, and they want, you know, interesting stories and what to talk about as well.
And cat videos.
Well, I got to make this engaging too. So let's 2030 now this. Because everyone in the audience, I'm not going to see you because you're dark. But can you wave? Can I get a wave? I'm going to get your exposure here. All right, hang on.
Yeah.
I'm on. All right.
Go
should we? 3. Oh, I can see you all. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, baby.
Yes.
Well, Pete, should we tweet right? Should we
and then let's flip it. This is us watching you.
They took
hang
my
on.
phone.
Oh. All right. First on stage selfie, I think. All right. Go.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. 2030 now. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for this platform. And thank you guys for... I love you, man.
Okay, well that was